is. Welcome, bienvenue, welcome once again. Oh my goodness, happy Thursday. And what temperatures we have out there, as Hamish is already regaling me with. He's adoring this temperature. He's a sun bunny, really. He very much enjoys that sort of thing. Whereas the rest of us are just coping, I guess. But a welcome to everyone watching today. And we, as you well know, on Property Quorum, usually knock about with topics that affect the property market and try and discuss them and hopefully bring you some interest. Today is all about one of Silas's favorite topics, when referral fees come before the clients. But before we get into that, as ever, Hamish, would you start us off?
Yes, it's one of those aspects that every time one speaks of conveyancing, the same subject will actually hit us, because it is something which makes a significant difference to the whole of the sort of transaction. And sadly, it can come very, very early within the transaction. And it is not necessarily any good at all, because it limits the choice by some estate agents that are given to clients to actually sort of process their the buying of their property or the selling of their property, because it's a suggested route that they go down. By going down that route, it doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't matter what the estate agent says, but it rarely means that they're going to the client will better themselves by going down that route. It is a route to go down for the benefit of the estate agent. And this is where our title comes from today: when referral fees come before clients. What is the most important thing? It's to help those clients to work, basically, to get the property on the market, find that buyer, and get that property sold. And referral fees are not helping in any way at all.
Well, it's an interesting thing. A referral fee, Silas, seems to be something that is not necessarily in the interest of the buyer, and often, dare I say it, the buyer doesn't even realize this kind of arbitration or arbitrage is going on behind the scenes.
Well, quite right, Gareth. I believe it was Trading Standards that released some statistics around this, that they suggested that there were at least 59% of all consumers had absolutely no idea that they were paying referral fees, because ultimately they're the ones that, where the money's coming from. And so these referral fee arrangements seems quite innocuous. And the whole idea that's propelled by the industry is that the referral fee acts as a kind of marketing spend by the conveyancer for leads, which on the surface sounds all very well and good and plausible. But of course, referral fees are not just coming from estate agents, or from conveyancers to estate agents. They can also be taken out through panel management companies and lead generation companies and all those sorts of players. So it's not specifically in the domain of estate agency. But one of the topics I'd like to bring to people's attention is the topic of moral injury within estate agency and with the wider profession of legal expertise. Because to my mind, referral fees actually distort, first of all, the recommendation of who is the right person for this particular job. And if you are an estate agent and you're recommending a practitioner who you would never use for your own conveyance, but you're putting them forward because they pay the highest referral fee, and I've seen referral fees up to, £895 on a £1,500 conveyance, you have to question what are you doing to yourself? What moral injury are you creating to yourself to be acting in a way that is not in alignment with your integrity or your desire to actually help people? And this is not all estate agents. I don't want to paint all estate agents with the same brush. There are some very good ones out there who want to help and support people. But the challenge is, when the industry has built itself around referral fees, and let's be honest, they affect about 70% of all transactions, to my mind. And if you consider that there's change involved, that number can very quickly escalate towards 100% of all transactions.
One could say the vast majority of transactions have some sort of insidious nature to them.
Correct. And that is what undermines good practitioners. So you have examples like Connell's when they're caught on camera through the Panorama investigation, and their expose pointed the finger very specifically at conditional selling within a state agency, i.e. the individual concerned, I'm not going to say the whole company, but the individual concerned highlighted within that program was not willing to put forward the offer unless the buyer was prepared to use one of their referred partners. That is conditional selling. It's bad, but it gives everybody in the industry a bad name. So all of the good practitioners are being brought down to that same level of all estate agents are the same. And I think it really harms not just the consumer, but more importantly, the estate agents and the conveyancers working alongside them. And just to round this off with a final statistic, I believe passionately that the industry is selling itself short to the point of actual burnout, because if you were to apply a £400 referral fee across all transactions, you would come out between about 400 and 480 million of additional revenue moving from conveyancers to estate agents. If we actually sorted out this problem of only 1 in 2 properties selling and 1 in 3 deals falling through, and a number of properties being withdrawn after a sale has been agreed, estate agents are sacrificing about £5.42 billion a year in income, which would make a massive difference to the sector, increase the earning potential of all people concerned, and allow them to employ the right staff to deliver the very best job for their clients. So it really is not a small thing that needs to be addressed. It's a massive issue that's undermining a much, much bigger picture than people realise.
But Silas, what you're doing there is appealing to a moral centre and a moral compass. And I'm not saying these people are amoral, but when profits are looming, and when we're talking about £850 on a what £1,700, that's obscene profiteering, really.
Quite right.
And it's going to be very hard to apply moral compass and common sense to that, because the money is there beckoning. And let's face it, as Connells have demonstrated then and since, I believe, it's so widespread that even after the Panorama program, I think combined the entire world of that ilk just shrugged their combined shoulders.
Well, that's the most disappointing part about it all, Gareth, is that nothing was actually done to stop the bad practice. So it was exposed, it was put out there into the world, there was a lot of industry chatter, and then every single regulator and trade body failed to act. And that just perpetuates the myth that all estate agents are the same and you can't trust estate agents. And it repeatedly puts forward this myth about why estate agency is one of the lowest trusted professions in the UK. And to my mind, it's bad for the good practitioners, the ones that actually really want to do a good job, who don't accept referral fees, who aren't caught up in this nonsense, but they're affected by osmosis because the wider industry is putting itself down. So you're right, it is a moral problem, but the whole reason why referral fees are being charged in the first place is because the whole system has commoditized the profession of estate agency and conveyancing to a large extent. So everybody's seen as the same. They all advertise in the same places. They all get the same access to the same pool of buyers. There is nothing different in the public's eyes from one estate agent to another. And because of that commoditization, fees have fallen within the industry to a point where it's now unprofitable to run a good estate agency. So you've got to get money in from elsewhere. And that's why referral fees have become so common. What I'm advocating for with the Maverick movement and what we're trying to do here is to increase professionalism and how people are perceived as estate agents. So you can be proud to be a maverick, that you can be proud to be doing a really good job for your client, and you're working with people who have honor in delivering that service to the client, not getting pulled down into the mud with all the other shady business that's going on, the brown paper envelopes. We don't want any of that. We have to rise above that, and that only comes with higher standards.
Hamish, it appears to me that if you are going to have any form of regulation without teeth is no regulation at all.
Well, we don't have any regulation. To be perfectly honest, that panorama program was nothing. There was nothing new in it. I mean, I was watching it to find out some new revelations. Nothing had changed. But I think the worst of it, as Silas just sort of pointed out, one would have thought that this gave impetus to the regulator or someone somewhere to start looking at this and say, because so much time is spent. And the big problem is with all these meetings, let's improve the buying and selling process. Let's speed it up. They're speaking to the wrong people. They aren't grabbing the situation by the scruff of the neck and say, heck, this has got to stop. And this is the big challenge. There isn't regulation. Should we bring in regulation? It would be better if it was self-regulated.
Yeah, but regulation, regulation doesn't always work if nobody adheres to it. And here's the problem. If, as I said, the entire industry combined just shrugs their shoulders and says, well, it's the same. That's effectively is what you said. You were expecting revelation. You got nothing new because it's the same old, same old.
I mean, it would be lovely if we were able to let the general public know as a whole what goes on. And they could approach the estate agent and say, oh, are you receiving referral fees for this particular transaction we're about to sort of carry out? If they said yes, the general would turn around and say, okay, we will go elsewhere, because it's not just that estate agent often that you can get the product from. But the general public need to know about it. And if the general public it's exactly the same with so many other aspects of it. How many people watch Panorama? I don't remember the last time I watched BBC. Or I might have watched the repeat of the Formula One on it, because it is just a load of baloney a lot of the time. So whether there's any truth in the matter in some of these reports, one wonders. But there was so much truth in what that Panorama program actually sort of revealed. And as I said, the sad thing is nobody acted on it.
Yeah, there was a certain amount of moral outrage. I read in a few of the rags that, oh, we shouldn't be doing this, and a bit of scabbard rattling, but nothing substantive has happened since, Silas. And not only that, but not only is that unregulated, but nobody even come forward, as Hamish said, to suggest it should be. So how can the Maverick movement become irrelevant? Which I think overall, please don't hope nobody finds us offensive. I'm sure Silas would love nothing better than the Maverick movement be pointless. In other words, that there is enough of a moral compass that people do the right thing anyway. We're not at that point yet, which is why what you're doing is so important.
Well, thank you, Gareth. I take the point that you're making here. I think the sad part about all the regulators failing to act points to a more systemic issue within the industry. And I will say it very bluntly, the issue is very, very weak leadership within the property industry. Nobody wants to step out of line. You've got to fit in with the clique. You've got to have the face that fits. And if you don't maintain that position, then you're quickly ejected from the system, right? The system maintains everything as it is, and it serves to commoditize everybody so that the people at the top still get paid regardless of whether or not people move home. And that's the sad fact of the matter. Now, Trading Standards said in 2020, when they did a report on referral fees, if transparency did not solve the issue, they ought to be banned. Okay, and the striking thing for me is that this has all been documented. It's been documented by Trading Standards. It's been documented by us in our white paper and probably countless other people. And this information has been put forward to the bodies that should be calling for the biggest ban of all, which is the bodies that represent the conveyancers, because that is a profession that is in desperate need of reform, desperate need of change, but nobody's looking at the core issues. They're just going, well, we'll regulate estate agents. We'll point the finger over there, regulate estate agents, and all of our problems will go away. Well, they won't if you're not going to address the core issue of referral fees that's undermining the ability of a conveyancing firm to turn a profit. I have seen with my own two eyes a £2 million turnover law firm dealing with conveyancing actually losing money because they're paying so much money out in referral fees to try and win the business. And so you're undermining the entire industry. And yet one of the professional bodies, I won't mention them, but they did their own sort of pet survey on referral fees, asked 12 practitioners whether or not they should be banned, and now need to do a further consultation on whether or not referral fees should be banned within the industry. And I'm sitting there going, every single conveyancer that I've spoken to wants referral fees banned.
Of course.
Because it's sucking all their profit out of the job, thus preventing them from actually running a successful business or hiring the people they need to or investing in the technology that they need. And so it's this insidious practice that I think stems from weak leadership and people who don't understand the industry well enough to be in the positions that they're in of influence, and that should be doing more to represent their members. And I know that's calling a few people out, but it's what's needed. You know, the industry has declined over the last 20 years that we've been part of it. We've all seen it. We've all witnessed it firsthand. We've got friends and family that have been affected by it. And yet what is the industry's answer? More consultations, more silence on the issues that matter. Or we'll leave it up to the government, who are addressing completely the wrong issues because they've been advised by people who haven't really got much of a clue. I'm sorry to say.
Well, so the two ills that seem to beset that part of the industry appear to be conditional selling and referral fees. And at the moment, even with their highlighted position in the world, not a whole lot really in real world seems to be done about it. Hamish, is there any point in us yammering on about it, or should we just step back in line, keep stum, and just carry on as we were?
Well, the challenge is, if people don't keep it in everybody's mind. I mean, look what happened with the post office scandal. I mean, that was absolutely a support. Look what's going on with cladding. What we have found, by keeping up persistently on the cladding, we are questioning the quality of what is being an acceptable standard. Now, referral fees are not an acceptable standard. And unless people keep the pressure on, we are, again, it is not in the best interest of the client. We've demonstrated this. And the sad thing is, very often the referral fees will be paid to somebody who is not the most efficient, is not the most effective. And when you get a chain and you get 2 or 3 of these people involved with that particular chain, you're adding weeks to the transaction if indeed the transaction goes through. There's a greater chance of failure the longer it takes. We all know that. So take out those referral fees. That's something out of the way. Let us rely on referrals for the quality people, the mavericks, the professionals out there. Refer those, and what a difference that would make.
Wow. And on that bombshell, I want to thank you all for taking part in today's Property Quorum. Hamish McClay, fire-breathing dragon of the north that he is. Thank you very much about that, Hamish. And Silas, great points, well made, but still, I just feel like we need to pull the damn saber out and wave it around a bit, because at the moment, all we're doing is ruffling feathers. We need to more than ruffle feathers. I think tarring and feathering might be ignored. Anyway, moving swiftly on from that, of course, no names should be mentioned, but you know who you are. Please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars. Remember, we've got our final show of the week coming up on Friday, Cladding Matters. We've been mentioned in governments in Australia, in the UK. We are making waves. It's a great advertisement, is Cladding Matters, for if you keep shouting about the right things, getting the right audience, eventually movement happens. So perhaps we can do that here too. Until next time, take care.